Hello everybody, TheMovieCuban here once again to go over another 2.4.2 build with you guys. Um, Unlike the Raymond generator build that I did in my last video, this video is more of a rehashing of a video that I did last patch. Or maybe it was the patch before, I don't quite remember. When I covered my version of the Wave of Light build. Now, it may look a little bit similar to some of the other YouTubers who have posted up videos on this build, but keep in mind there's only so much originality that can be put into these kinds of builds, specifically when you're trying to choose skills that make everything work and whatever. But this is the configuration that I've found seems to do the best. And I know that Quinn has a build video out there where the skills are pretty much the same. And I'm not going to say he copied me, he didn't. That's just stupid. Quinn is way better of a YouTuber for this than I am. But now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about the build itself. So, for this build, we want to maximize not only our mobility getting around the Nephilim Rift maps, since this is a Torment 10 build that we're going to be doing, but we also are gearing all of our skills and gear to help us deal as much damage as possible. For those reasons, we've chosen the Wave of Light Explosive Light rune, just so that we have that AoE burst from the fire skill that we don't get with many of the other skills. We're using Sweeping Wind Inner Wind as a way to keep track of your spirit and keep that generating so that you can keep doing Wave of Lights. It's really simple. We're choosing Mystic Ally Air Ally so that we can gain back spirit every time we actually press the skill. And we get some passive spirit regen, which is also really nice. We're using Dashing Strike Way of the Falling Star to give us some more movement speed so that we can get around faster. We're using Blinding Flash Faith in the Light so that we do more damage after we use Blinding Flash. So if you have those really pesky enemies with a lot of health, this will help you cut through their health a little faster. As well as the Mantra of Conviction, which will increase damage that your enemies take within a certain distance from you. And every time you kill an enemy that's affected by that mantra, you gain a short burst of movement speed. For our passives, it's real simple. We're going to use Siege the Initiative so that every time we hit a new enemy, we're going to increase our attack speed, which just means that our Wave of Lights are going to hit that much harder. Exalted Soul for more spirit and spirit regen, again, so that we can keep track of our spirit pool and not run out. We'll use Harmony so that we can increase our elemental resistances. And Beacon of Etar for cooldown reduction. For our items, you are going to want to use you're going to want to get the 6 set bonus of Sun Wukong. Since we need the helm slot open for a different piece of gear that we're running in this build, I would recommend going ahead and using the gloves, shoulders, chest plate, pants, and amulet. Pair that with the Ring of Royal Grandeur and you've got your 6 set bonus. For those who don't know what the Sun Wukong set does, the 2 set bonus gives you damage reduction while Sweeping Wind is active. The 4 set bonus makes you spawn a decoy every time you hit an enemy, or every time you hit an enemy. The last enemy you hit um, makes you spawn a decoy that taunts your enemy and then explodes for 1,000% weapon damage for each stack of wind you have. That's really important because if you have 10 stacks, then that decoy does 10,000% weapon damage, which isn't anything to sniff at, but it's certainly not the source of most of our damage. And then the 6th set makes it so that your Wave of Light will consume a stack of your Sweeping Wind to deal 3,000% increased damage. So your Wave of Light just hits like a truck. The helm that I was talking about is the Zokrin's Gaze. Ever since 2.4.1, I believe, they made it so that this helm had a chance to roll increased Wave of Light damage, which is very, very helpful in what we're trying to do here, since we want to make Wave of Light as strong as possible, since it is the bread and butter of our build. We're going to use the Pinto's Pride Bracers, which make Wave of Light work as a slowing skill as well as increasing its damage. We're going to use the Kiyoshiro's Soul Belt, so that your Sweeping Wind will gain 2 stacks every second it doesn't deal damage to enemies. And because this build is meant for long distance fighting, that's basically going to make it so that your Sweeping Wind is kept at max stacks every second, unless you have to absolutely just spam Wave of Light to kill something. Paired with the Kiyoshiro's Soul, we're using the Vengeful Wind so that we can increase the maximum stack count of Sweeping Wind by between 6 and 7, I believe. I rolled a 7 here, so I'm quite happy about that. Because Sweeping Wind only initially gives you 3 stacks. So now you have 10 stacks. We're going to use the Crudest Boots because we want that second Mystic Ally. This will make it so that instead of just 4 passive Spirit Regen, we get 8. And then when you actually pop the skill, you'll gain back 200 Spirit as opposed to 100 Spirit, which you can't go wrong with, getting more Spirit. And then we're going to use the Kiyoshiro's Blade one-handed fist weapon. This increases the damage of Wave of Light by 150%, and when the initial impact of Wave of Light hits 3 or fewer enemies, the damage is increased by between 200 and 250%, and I have 250% here. For our rings, or at least my rings, I'm using the Convention of Element to give me a little bit more damage when it ticks to fire. And then I'm using the Ring of Royal Grandeur, of course, in order to give me that 6 set bonus. For legendary gems, we're using Bane of the Stricken, Zay's Stone of Vengeance, so that will deal more damage the further we are away from people. And it has the chance to stun enemies. And then Bane of the Trapped, since our Wave of Light now slows enemies, so that will automatically proc Bane of the Trapped. Since we're not going to really get within 15 yards of enemies, so the Bane of the Trapped's secondary effect wouldn't be kicking in as often as normal with the more up close and personal monk builds. For our Kunai Cube, since I'm focused on making sure that I don't have to constantly keep popping spirit regen abilities and whatnot, I opted for the incense torch of the Grand Temple to reduce my spirit cost for Wave of Light by 50%. Then, adding to that, I chose the Cinder Coat, which will reduce the resource cost of fire skills by 30%. And since our Wave of Light is fire, that's a combined 80% cost reduction, not counting what I have in like Paragon and rolled on my gear. And then finally, I'm using Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac simply so that I can get some of my skills off cooldown a little faster. You certainly don't need to use this. Um, you could always opt for like Unity. If you have your follower wearing another Unity, you can swap in one of the anti-element amulets if you want. Really up to you. I just find that using the obsidian ring makes it so that I can hit uh, I can hit air ally and blinding flash a little faster since they have such small cooldowns, and then it helps it so that I can have dashing strike a little faster. So it's by no means a perfect build, but it does what I want it to do, and I suppose at the end of the day that's what's most important. For Paragon points, I maxed out Spirit and Movement Speed along with my gear, and then dumped the rest into Dexterity. Um, for the offensive tab, I would recommend starting out with the critical hit chance and damage, and then once you've got those maxed out, you can worry about cooldown reduction and attack speed. For the defense tab, this is entirely up to you. I just, as a rule, I start out with resistances and armor, and then I deal with life and life regen. And then for your utility, definitely start with area damage. That just seems to be a good way to go ever since they fixed that mechanic. Then you can worry about resource cost reduction, since we already have a bunch of resource cost reduction thanks to Kanai. It's not really going to do that much for you, but hey, if you've got the Paragon points to spare, why not use them? And then you can deal with life per hit and gold find. So that is it for this build guide. I don't think I need to do gameplay for this. I'm pretty sure all of you know how to run this build. It's basically just go in your rift, hit Sweeping Wind, let it stack up to how many stacks you have, and then just Wave of Light everything. Just blast the holy hell out of it. And then if you feel the need to, you can hit Blinding Flash and air ally when you're running out of spirit, or if you need to do more damage. So yeah, I'm gonna leave you with that, guys. Like I said, this was just me updating the build guide that I did before. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will be sure to release more videos for your guys' viewing pleasure in the near future. So thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a good day.